Ken seems to be cheating on me. We have lunch together, discussing my future. Because of the topic, a long silence follows. My phone rings, breaking the heavy atmosphere. It's a call from Ken. If he finds out I'm at his parents' house, he'll get angry and yell at me again. I nervously excused myself and answered the phone. Ken said something unexpected.
Dad collapsed. I'm going back home.
What? But Kyle is.
Shh.
Kyle, who had a somber look just moments ago, now has a mischievous smile and looks about 10 years younger. It seems he has a plan. My in-laws and I are fed up with Ken's tyrannical behavior. This is our chance to be free. I decided to follow Kyle's lead. My name is Nora Johnson, 45 years old. I met my husband, Ken Smith, when I was 23, and we got married. In the beginning, we were happy. But after we both turned 34, Ken started to change. He developed a bad habit of taking out his frustration on others when he was in a bad mood. It probably started when he got transferred to a new department and struggled with his work. He became visibly more irritated, often belittling me. Even his parents scolded him multiple times for his behavior, but each time Ken rebelled and became more stubborn. Eventually, his parents and I were exhausted by his attitude, and to avoid provoking him, we rarely argued back. I'd be lying if I said I never thought about divorce, but I lost my parents early on, so I have nowhere else to go. Besides, though my relationship with Ken is strained, I think of his parents as my own and could never abandon them.
What is this dinner? It's inedible.
Ken's harsh voice cut through. Tonight's dinner was meatloaf, salad, and soup, but he didn't like it.
The portions are small, and there's not enough variety. Stop slacking off with the housework.
He slammed the table, spilling some of the soup. Ken scowls at it and clicks his tongue.
Hey, what are you spacing out for? Clean it up quickly.
Yes. I wipe the table with a cloth as instructed and take it to the kitchen. Ken spits out more insults at my slumped back.
Go to the store and get some ready-made food. I can't eat this. It ruins my appetite. If you care about a man who works hard, go now.
Sure. If I don't answer, he'll yell again. So I quietly reply and leave the house in a hurry. Since it's late, most of the ready-made food is sold out, but I buy some ham cutlets and head back home. I find that the dinner has been completely eaten and empty plates are left on the table. Ken is watching TV with a sour expression, and when he sees me, he clicks his tongue again.
You're so late. I had to settle for that. I'll eat the ready-made food for breakfast.
I understand. He probably just wanted to annoy me. Or maybe he doesn't want to eat while looking at my face. I eat my now cold dinner while listening to the hollow sound of the TV. Since Ken doesn't help with any housework, I wash both my dishes and the ones he left on the table. Meanwhile, Ken just keeps watching TV. He doesn't say a word, as if to show he dislikes my presence. The bath is ready. Even though I call out, Ken, still upset about dinner, ignores me. Once he's in a bad mood, he ignores me for a while. But if I ignore him like he does to me, he gets terribly angry and curses at me. So I always try to act normally, even if I don't want to. I'll go in first. After I finish my bath, Ken is still watching TV. It's your turn to take a bath. He ignores me again. I'm used to it, so there's no point in dwelling on it. After waiting a while and seeing no movement, I give up and head to the bedroom first. The laundry and bathroom cleaning aren't done yet, but it can't be helped. I'll take care of the remaining chores tomorrow. With that thought, I fall asleep, feeling extremely tired.
Hey, you're spending too much money. How can it be decreasing this fast?
I'm trying to save as much as I can, but prices are high, and I get ready-made food for dinner every day.
Are you saying it's my fault?
Ken yells, and I flinch. His face is red with anger, and it's clear in his eyes.
Who do you think is providing for you? Know your place. Stop complaining and just do your housework quietly.
It seems we won't be having a conversation today either. I'm sorry.
Save money. It's my hard-earned money. Treat it more carefully. It's not your money.
Despite being so obsessed with money, Ken hates the idea of me going out to work. We don't have kids, and I think if I went to work, we wouldn't have to rely solely on his money, but he stubbornly refuses to allow it. When I ask him why his reasons change each time. Once he said, "You can't even handle housework properly. How can you do a job?" Another time he yelled, "Are you saying we can't live on my salary alone? Don't embarrass me."
You just want to waste money on yourself and have fun.
He's also yelled that at me, glaring fiercely. He just doesn't want me to have freedom where he can't see me. Especially after I turned 35, whenever I tried to go out with friends or buy something, he'd shout, "Whose money do you think you're spending?" He firmly believes that if I start working, I'll neglect the housework. I got tired of trying to persuade Ken, so now I just do what he says. When he's angry, I just keep saying yes and sorry, waiting for his anger to pass.
You're terrible at managing money. I earn enough. But because of you, we never get any financial relief.
Ken would rant like this, depositing his salary into his account and only giving me a fixed amount for household expenses. The rising cost of living that's all over the news isn't taken into account, and the household budget has been the same since we got married. Naturally, it's not enough. So when I say we don't have enough money, he accuses me of being bad at managing money or wasting it. Despite this, he always insists I buy ready-made food for dinner, so his actions and words don't match up. Once, I bought ready-made food in advance, and when I served it, he got incredibly angry, yelling, "Stop wasting money." After that, I realized he just wanted to harass me, so I avoid unnecessary actions. His reaction when I bought ready-made food in advance was so terrible. He's bad enough now, but back then he stayed angry for a week, ignored me, and took his frustration out on the house, leaving marks everywhere.
Hi, Nora. This is a souvenir from our trip. Please take it.
Nora, it's been a while. You look worn out.
The only relief in these stifling days is the weekly visits from my in-laws, Kyle and Beth. Welcome, Kyle, Beth. Thanks for the gift. I'm fine, don't worry. They're so kind. It's hard to believe they're Ken's parents. They always care about me. They've given up on Ken, but they still try to improve the situation, thinking of ways to help.
Ken, I heard from someone that you often say it's tough at work. Why don't you move back in with us? Even saving on rent would make a big difference, right?
Kyle and Beth live on pensions. They don't have much, but they don't need Ken's money. Indeed, saving on rent would make things easier.
Both Kyle and I can handle housework, so if we share the chores among the three of us, Living together shouldn't be a problem. If Nora wants, she can work while we take care of the house. Then Ken wouldn't have to worry about money.
They seem to think Ken's frustration is because of money. Of course, they know that's not the only reason. They're trying to remove the most manageable stressor. They choose their words carefully to avoid provoking Ken. They worry a lot about Ken taking his anger out on me. It's such a generous offer that I almost nodded immediately. But Ken was different. He glared at his parents with resentment, his face turning red with anger. We realized we had failed again. Ken exploded, shouting and spitting as he berated us.
Don't mess with me. Don't talk like I'm not independent. Don't belittle me. Just because you're my parents, don't think you can say whatever you want. You're insulting my character.
Kyle opened his mouth to argue but gave up. Once Ken starts getting angry, nothing anyone says gets through to him. It would just add fuel to the fire.
You're the worst. Don't look down on me and think I'll always obey you. You're living on pensions. You just want to rely on my salary, don't you? Well, no way. I won't live with you. I'm independent. I can't take care of you.
That's not what we meant.
Don't talk back.
Ken slammed the table again, and Beth fell silent. I thought about how terrible it was for him to speak to his own parents like that, but arguing with him would be pointless. He believes he's always right, and everyone else is wrong. Besides, it's one thing for him to take his anger out on me, but if he ever lashed out at his parents, just thinking about it is terrifying.
Don't ever interfere with my life again. It makes me sick. I'm going out.
Ken stormed out of the house in a rage. The front door slammed shut with a deafening crash. He always makes loud, aggressive noises. This is probably part of his harassment toward us as well. In the space Ken left, Kyle and Beth slumped down.
Nora, we're sorry for being such lousy parents.
It's our fault for not raising him well.
Please don't say that. That's absolutely not true. I couldn't think of them as lousy parents when they had repeatedly tried to correct Ken's tantrums. Besides, when I first met him, Ken was polite and kind. It must have been thanks to his parents' upbringing. He's an adult now. Parenting and influences aren't excuses anymore. Ken's actions are Ken's responsibility, so there's no need for you two to feel guilty. Watching them feel so hurt by Ken's actions was painful for me. No matter how old a child gets, they're still their parent's child. But I believe there's no need for them to feel responsible for a son over 30. I might be out of line saying this, but Ken was kind until he turned 35. It's because you two raised him well. It's unfortunate he changed, but that's his responsibility. At first, I thought he was just busy with work or stressed from a new department. In hindsight, maybe that was the problem. Ken became more spoiled and kept deteriorating. Thinking that way, I feel more responsible as his wife than his parents. When I shared my thoughts, they quickly denied it with urgency.
That's not true. In an adult relationship, even as a married couple, feeling responsible for the other person's actions is unhealthy.
Nora, you've done nothing wrong. We can't thank you enough for staying with him.
I feel the same way. For a moment, they looked surprised, then smiled a little. It seemed they realized it was strange to feel responsible for Ken's behavior. Since I'm not responsible, there's no way my in-laws are either. Feeling a bit lighter, we had tea for about 30 minutes and then parted ways. A few days later, I made plans to visit my in-laws. Hello, Kyle, Beth. Here's a little something for you. As promised, a few days later, I visited their home. Since it was during the weekday, Ken wouldn't find out because he was at work. I knew he'd be furious if he found out I visited them, so I kept it a secret.
Glad you could come, Nora. Come on in. Let's have lunch.
You didn't have to bring anything. Thank you. Let's enjoy it together after lunch.
Unlike Ken, my in-laws are very kind. They always warmly welcome me, even though we're not blood related. It was so enjoyable preparing lunch together. After a while, as we sat down to eat, Kyle asked me,
So what's this about?
It's about Ken, right?
Usually at this point, they'd start apologizing, but respecting what I said last time, they didn't. That made things easier for all of us. We all struggle with Ken. Yes, well, it seems like Ken is cheating on me.
I'm sorry, Nora, but I'm not too surprised.
Right. With the way he's been acting, it's not unexpected.
Their bluntness made me laugh. Honestly, I felt the same way. Yeah, while he was in the shower, I saw a notification on his phone. A message from a woman saying she had fun on Sunday. After that, I knew it was wrong, but I checked Ken's phone. The password was his birthday. When I checked the messaging app, I found explicit exchanges with a young woman from work, and I remember being astonished by his recklessness. It seems the cheating started around the time of his department transfer, when he was 35.
I see. He needed money for his affair, so he started yelling at you to save money.
Kyle sighed, his face clearly showing his exasperation.
Even with that personality, he managed to have an affair.
In front of his mistress, he's apparently kind and generous. That's the impression I got from the messages.
So all the consequences fall on you and us.
Reaching this conclusion, the three of us sighed deeply. The meal we made together with my in-laws was ruined. It tasted good, but I couldn't really enjoy it.
What should we do?
No matter what we say, his personality probably won't change. I could divorce him if things get worse, but Kyle and Beth, his blood relatives, don't have that option. So I don't want to run away either. I didn't want to burden my in-laws. Breaking the heavy silence, my phone rang. It was a call from Ken. Could he have found out I was at his parents' house? Excuse me, I need to take this call. I told my in-laws and answered the phone. After a tense moment, Ken said something unexpected.
Dad collapsed. I'm coming home.
What? Kyle is. Ken's voice was so loud that even though it wasn't on speakerphone, his parents could hear him. Kyle, who seemed to realize something, put his finger to his lips.
Shh.
Kyle's mischievous smile made him look 10 years younger. Following his cue, I kept quiet about his parents being right in front of me and just listened to Ken. 3 days later, still at my in-laws' house, I got another call from Ken. Surprised by the multiple missed calls, I answered, and a frantic Ken yelled into the phone.
Where are you right now? What's this divorce paper? Stop messing around.
His loud voice was easily heard by everyone around me. He didn't like that I had left the divorce papers and moved out. Beth gestured for me to put the phone on speaker, so I did. I'm not messing around. I'm serious.
What? Don't be naive. You've been a stay-at-home wife all this time. You can't live on your own.
How insulting. Beth and Kyle frowned. I answered calmly, without any emotion. Too bad. I've already got a job.
What?
Ken's voice trembled. Despite constantly berating me, it seemed divorce wasn't convenient for him. Naturally, losing a housekeeper who doesn't need a salary would be troublesome. Kyle's former company was looking for an office worker. He introduced me.
Dad?
He growled. Ken knew well how much his parents cared for me. He didn't like it and would complain that they were spoiling me. Before we got married, I worked as an office worker. It's a part-time position, but if I work hard, they might hire me full-time. I'm aiming for that.
So, this divorce is Dad's idea? Don't you have a mind of your own?
Ken's words left me astonished. Did he think I was just going along with someone else's wishes? If he believed I had no reason to want a divorce, he should reflect on his own behavior. I endured your awful treatment because Kyle and Beth were good to me. But when they said enough, it was clear. Divorce is the obvious choice.
Who do you think has been supporting you all this time? You're repaying kindness with betrayal.
Normally, I would stay quiet at this point. But since I had decided to divorce him, it didn't matter how angry he got. I took this opportunity to voice all the things I had been holding back. You can't do anything like housework, but you could live in a clean house, eat 3 meals properly, and always go to work in a clean suit. That's all thanks to me. Do you have any idea how hard it's been to cater to your selfish demands? You're the one who's repaying kindness with betrayal.
Jeez.
He didn't expect me to fight back. Ken's voice wavered with obvious panic, but he quickly regained his composure and started yelling again.
You've been living off me, so that's the least you could do. I don't owe you anything, and I've been providing for you every day, so I don't deserve this blame from you.
Oh, really? Is that so? My voice was cold, causing Ken to panic again. He wasn't used to being attacked. But being a prideful person, he couldn't help but retaliate.
What do you want to say? If you have something to say it clearly.
And with that, he pulled the trigger on his own downfall. Then I'll say it. Over the past 3 days, you've been lying about Kyle being in the hospital and spending time with your mistress, Karen, haven't you?
No way. What are you talking about? I don't understand.
I could practically see the beads of sweat forming on Ken's face. He never expected to be caught. He thought I had no reason to want a divorce, and that I didn't have a mind of my own. He didn't anticipate me taking any unexpected actions. It was truly astonishing. I have your conversation logs from the messaging app and photos of you two leaving the hotel 2 days ago.
You spied on me and took secret photos? That's an invasion of privacy.
Don't act all high and mighty after cheating. I snapped back, and Ken, shocked by my outburst, fell completely silent. My in-laws, who had been watching, silently urged me to continue. Feeling a bit embarrassed, but also emboldened, I relished the chance to finally get back at Ken. You might not know this, but the hotel you used is run by one of Kyle's acquaintances. The cleaning company that services that hotel employs a friend of Beth's, and the restaurant you went to with Karen is owned by a friend of Kyle's from college. They all saw you two together and reported back to Kyle and Beth. After Ken called saying he was going back home, we started gathering evidence of his affair. It turned out that friends of Kyle and Beth had witnessed Ken and Karen multiple times. These friends, knowing Ken only from childhood, hadn't noticed anything before, but were helpful when asked. I don't know why you were fooling around locally, but your mistakes made gathering evidence really easy. So thank you for that. Ken is silent. He's probably speechless. I seize the moment and continue. I will be demanding alimony from both you and Karen.
Alimony.
He finally snaps out of it when money is mentioned. Typical of his miserly nature. Suppressing my contempt, I continue. I'm not withdrawing our divorce, so just sign the papers and file them. Otherwise, we'll settle it in court. I've kept a detailed diary of all the mistreatment I've suffered from him. Even though infidelity alone is grounds for divorce, the diary will help me get a higher alimony. Originally, I started writing it as a way to calm myself, as a hobby. Ken had forbidden me from going out or spending money on myself, so I kept it along with the household budget. The thought that Ken's own actions are now backfiring on him makes me feel almost giddy with satisfaction. Goodbye. Ken was still shouting on the other end of the line, but I had nothing more to say, so I hung up.
Nora, you look very refreshed.
Do I?
Let's splurge a little on dinner tonight to celebrate your fresh start.
Despite having no home to return to after the divorce, my in-laws, who had invited me to stay with them, continued to treat me like their own daughter. Having endured Ken's behavior together, we felt a bond stronger than family. Feeling a mix of embarrassment and joy, I nodded with a big smile that matched theirs. Yes, just when I thought it was all over, a commotion happened soon after I started my new job.
Hey, you're Nora Johnson, right?
Yes. On my way home from work, I turned to the voice calling me. It was Karen Harper, Ken's mistress.
Why do I have to pay alimony too? Do you think I'd seriously be involved with that old man? I only kept him around because he was a good sugar daddy. You couldn't control him, so he cheated. Don't drag me into this.
Her face was flushed with anger. She swung her brand name bag around, looking like she was ready to pounce on me. A coworker nearby looked surprised and hid from Karen. Then, signaling me with her phone, she indicated she was calling the police. I figured I could leave that part to her. Sorry, but the law allows me to claim alimony from my spouse's affair partner. You knew what you were doing, right? If not, you'll have to chalk it up to poor risk management.
What? Don't mock me. You plain old woman. Jealous because I'm young?
Karen, stomping her feet, looks more like a child than a young woman. A child throwing a tantrum because she didn't get her way. Come to think of it, Ken acted like a child too. Maybe they're alike. If that's the case, they're a perfect match. Whether they get along or last long is another matter. As a parting gift, I'll let you have Ken instead of alimony. I hope you're happy together.
Are you stupid? I don't want an old man like him. Isn't that obvious?
She had said the same thing when she approached me, so she must mean it. Ken is being abandoned by both his wife and his mistress. Karen kept making a scene, but the police eventually took her away, thanks to a colleague's call.
Let go of me. Don't touch me. I'll sue you.
Thinking that Karen is the one who might get sued, I ignore her and thank my colleague. I'm sorry for the trouble. Thank you for calling the police.
It's fine.
I heard a little about what's going on. It sounds tough for you, Nora. This is all I can do, but hang in there.
Since Kyle used to work there, the people at the company are very kind. Many seem to have been helped by Kyle, so they're nice to me because of his introduction. After bowing and saying goodbye to my colleague, I see I have a call on my phone. Seeing that the call was from Ken, I decided to answer it with a police officer nearby.
Nora? It's me, Ken. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Let's start over.
The voice coming through the phone was completely different, almost groveling. Feeling nothing but disgust, I frowned. Kyle and Beth said they can't take care of you anymore.
I know. They told me. You're all I have left. So please, Nora.
Does he really think I'd sympathize with him over this? Don't insult me. I have pride and feelings too. I've endured enough mistreatment not to feel any pity. I can't take care of you either. Enjoy your life with Karen.
Wait. Karen dumped me.
He didn't realize I knew that. It's a predictable outcome. No young woman would seriously want a man like Ken.
She got mad about the alimony and said, I'm not paying anything. You pay it. Then we fought, and now she won't even talk to me.
Serves him right, but Ken seemed genuinely hurt.
I just got carried away. I lost sight of myself. Please forgive me,
I've told you many times it's over.
but I'm apologizing here.
Gone was the groveling tone, replaced by anger. The police officer who had been about to leave stopped and stared.
You're at my parents' house, right? I know it. Don't think you can get away with this. And my parents. I'm their real son, but they all gang up on me with you. I'm already outside the house. I'll make you pay.
At this point, there was no denying it. Ken had once again pulled the trigger on his own misfortune. I'm recording this call.
What?
Ken's previously furious voice suddenly became meek. He must have realized the severity of what he said. But it was too late. There's a police officer nearby. You're on speaker, so the police are already listening. They're contacting others via radio right now. Indeed, the officer was talking urgently into his radio and heading quickly to his patrol car.
No way. That's a lie.
You said, I'll make you pay. I'm outside the house. That's more than enough evidence. You really are easy to handle. Ken started mumbling excuses on the other end of the line. You're wrong. It was just in the heat of the moment, Ken muttered, but his words were slurred and hard to understand. Plus, the sound of police sirens in the background made it even harder to hear him. Kyle and Beth have told you many times to work on your temper. You really are hopeless. It seemed Ken couldn't hear me. Right before I hung up, he was still muttering something, seemingly in shock. Later, Ken was ordered to stay away from both me and his parents. Thanks to his reckless behavior, the divorce and alimony claims went smoothly. Ken is now paying alimony in installments. His new job is with an acquaintance of Kyle's, who agreed to deduct the alimony from Ken's salary. Rumors spread about his affair and abusive behavior, making his work environment very uncomfortable. It's widely speculated that he might quit soon, but it's doubtful any local company would hire him. Karen also found it hard to stay at her job and quit. She managed to pay the alimony by selling the branded bags and clothes Ken had given her. I heard she's working night jobs now, and her spending has gotten worse because she's infatuated with a younger guy. She's even in debt, so who knows how long we'll keep hearing about her. With Kyle and Beth's encouragement, I started living with them. They even adopted me, and we became a real family without Ken. I decided to cook for them on weekends. Dinner's ready. Come on, let's eat.
It looks delicious again tonight.
Nora, you're such a great cook.
Beth and Kyle enjoy my cooking with such delight. Just watching them warms my heart. Next week, Beth is in charge of cooking, and she's going to make my favorite dish.
Why don't we all go shopping tomorrow?
I'll drive. Where should we go?
Let's take a little trip and eat out on the way back.
I lost my parents early, and I always longed for a family. I envied the warmth of having parents. Though I didn't find that family through marriage, I feel that I've finally found my ideal family here. I'll cherish these people who cherish me. As long as I have them in my life, and as long as I know they love me, I will be happy forever.